We're here at West Coast Green. It's the last day, and one of the highlights of this conference was a fellow by the name of Bill Reed, who really seems to get it. And you know, Bill Reed, he's right here in the hallway. Can you believe it? Perfect lighting and everything. Bill, how's it going?
Going great.
You're one of the founders of LEED, and you're here at this conference. You're talking about the way that we think about things, and you have a kind of a perspective that goes beyond something simple like a checklist.
Well, yeah, the LEED was meant to establish market transformation. It was never meant to define green. And LEED's been wonderful in that regard, but we have to move beyond it now. Not leaving it behind, but we have to move beyond it as well. Because what we're talking about with sustainability is sustaining life. So why not start there? You can't, the product itself, or a wall material, or shingles, or photovoltaic panels aren't going to create sustainability. They're triage, if you will, for limiting the damage or getting rid of the problems that we have. But you're only getting the patient back to stability. You're not helping them be healthy. So how do we actually work with the system that we're working with to make it healthy? And the system that we're working with is not just the building, but it's the people in the building, it's the community around the building, it's the living systems, the water, the soil, the food, the plants that give us life. It's the web of life that we're sustaining. What buildings give us, a remodeling project or a house project, gives us an opportunity to work with the full system. It's one of the great acupuncture points that we have in the planet. So when we're working on a sustainable project, the building itself can never be sustainable. What can be sustainable, though, is the inspiration of the people who live in the building to go out and carry what they've learned to others.
A remodeler looks at a project, they look at a kitchen, they look at a bath, I mean, how far does their influence go?
Their influence can go as far as they want it to go. You only limit yourself. When we work on a building project, we actually start in the watershed, because that's the context in which we're working with, what's going to inform what we're doing. And the more that we can keep material exchanges and energy exchanges and community involvement and food sources in that watershed, the watershed is the boundary of the community for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. So we have an opportunity to help people understand this and to inform our designs by that interrelationship.
So let me ask this question. There are folks out there who will say green building's all about energy, green building's all about water, green building's all about social justice.
It's never about one thing. Nature, you can't vote on nature. You can't determine what piece of nature you're going to be working on. It all works together as a whole system. So to fragment it and just vote on little pieces means you're actually going to continue to degrade the system. No, it's a good thing you're working on the small pieces, but you know, carbon neutral has become almost a synonym for sustainability, and that is just so wrong. Easter Island, remember that island that went extinct? It was carbon neutral. So it's not about carbon neutrality. We have to understand what makes us sustainable is how we treat all other life and how all other life supports us. Until we reestablish our interrelationship with life and inhabit the land instead of occupy it, we will never be sustainable.
I like that, inhabit the land rather than occupy it. You've talked about this idea that putting nature over there doesn't make sense, that until we start to think of ourselves as nature.
Well, the idea of national parks or parks is an indication of the fallacy of our thinking. We put nature in a park, a tree zoo, if you will, and we say, stay there, you figure it out because we don't understand you, and we'll go out here and screw it up. We were working with Mass Audubon on a project where they were developing, they were part of a development so they could get some conservation land, and they were very anxious about being part of a development. And we said, well, why not inspire the developer to make the whole development a natural park, a park sanctuary?
Well, the people, I mean, the people who believe in biophilic design would say that that's absolutely critical, that when you interact with nature, that's actually when your quality of life goes up, and everything about the space.
Well, why would we think, how do we live without air and soil and plants that make food for us so that animals feed on to give us food? We're so connected, but yet we think we can go to the grocery store and it's always going to be there.
So fundamentals then, shelter and food.
Yeah.
And I think you made a comment about having a net positive relationship, that buildings have the opportunity to...
Well, buildings themselves will never have a net positive relationship. You cannot have a sustainable building. Get that out of our vocabulary. What you can't have a living building either. What you can have is be part of a living system. And so the buildings that you're building can compensate, but is compensation enough? No, it's what you're doing with that building. How are you actually, the microclimate around a house, for instance, you've got 4 microclimates at least. Most houses are square to some degree. You actually have the potential of establishing whole new orders and niches of ecologies, if we actually think about it. Get an ecologist on your team. Even if you're doing a bedroom addition, get an ecologist on your team to work with the site itself. A turf grass exterior ain't natural. As Jerry Wilhelm says in Conservation Design Forum, it's a drug-addicted rug. Before Greek thinking, we never had a word for nature. In fact, of all the tribes in the United States, just less than 270 tribes in North America, not one of them had a word for nature, which indicates that they were part of it. It's not separate from us. Now, so what's wilderness? Wilderness actually is land that has not been taken care of by humans. We have a role to be stewards and to actually support nature. We have a role to actually make it better. Now we have to learn how to do that again. We've forgotten. Now the word development I particularly love because the word develop means to create new potential. It doesn't mean to occupy the land and screw it up. It means that we actually have an opportunity. In fact, we must have an opportunity to create new potential on this planet, or else we will never be sustainable. In fact, I love the idea that to develop is a developer actually is the healer of the planet. So I would like to change the word developer, the concept of developing, to the new concept of being the most honored profession on the planet.
That would be a paradigm shift, wouldn't that?
But in fact, we need to do that. It's not just, it'd be nice, we need to do that.
Bill, I appreciate you taking the time to chat. If any final last words of wisdom that you'd like to impart to our readers?
Yeah, don't ask for permission.